Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Discover Multisensory Mediumship. Explore the art of connecting with loved ones on the other side to heal and enhance your life. My name is Stephen Dynam, the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm thrilled to be with you here because we're getting to explore into really one of the truly most fascinating areas that we've been opening up in recent years at the Shift Network, which is a really clear, relatable way to connect with the other side and get information, closure, healing, really establish a bond with souls that transcends the physical form. We're going to get to do that with one of our favorite teachers. Her name is Manuchehri. She's a energy medicine healer and medium, and so we're in for a treat today. So Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. We focused a little bit more on energy medicine and intuition in previous calls with you, but I want to sort of invite you to share a little bit about your backstory and particularly focus in on the communication with the other side component.
Yes. Well, as you may remember, everything happened to me basically in the hospital while I was working as an oncology nurse. And my very first medium experience happened there as well. But even prior to that, my very first day as a new hired nurse, before I knew I was an intuitive, as soon as I walked on to the floor to be trained by the supervisor, someone on the floor, a patient, had passed away. And so she asked me to go with her to help prepare the body to be taken to the morgue or the funeral home. I wasn't sure at that moment who was going to be picking up this person's body. And when I walked into the room, as the supervisor is explaining everything to me, how to position the body, remove jewelry, all kinds of things that would just make it easier for the transition that the body was going to go through. I just kept staring up at the ceiling. I had a hard time focusing on her instruction, even looking at the body. And I'm very comfortable around death. I have been my whole life. Don't necessarily know why, but it brings me joy to be around that part of life as well. So I'm staring at the ceiling and I said to the supervisor, I said, I think this woman is still in this room floating down the ceiling. And the supervisor said, probably, and just directed me back to helping her prepare this body that was going to be picked up very quickly from the floor and be taken so it could be prepared for her family. And then probably several years later, when I was working at a different facility, and I knew I was intuitive at that time. I was laying hands on people and doing energy work and training myself in the hospital. I was very supported by the staff, physicians. My supervisor at that time I feel so blessed and lucky to have been, given the freedom to learn and practice. And it was very early in the morning. I was a charge nurse that day. And I saw this kind of cobalt blue blob. It looked like silk fabric floating about 5 feet above my head in this one particular hallway. And I wasn't shocked because my life was very multisensory at that point. But I was curious, what is that? I was the only one in the hallway. And I saw this face kind of contort through the blue, kind of silky cobalt fabric. It was a woman's face. And she said to me very loudly, and beings from different dimensions communicate through us mental telepathically. So you kind of hear it in your head, not necessarily in the room. And she said, please go visit my son. And it was a very large unit, oncology, tele for cardiac and medical. And so I think there was like 65 beds on that unit. And I said, I don't know where he is. And I kind of ignored her. I was really tired. It was early in the morning. I was newly divorced, I have 3 kids, I had a busy life outside of all the other things I was doing in the world. And every time I would walk past that same portion of the hallway, there she was again. And she would ask me again. And I would look around to try to get an idea of who her son would be, but nothing kind of came to me. So I kind of just kept ignoring her, honestly. Then right before the end of my shift, there she is again, pleading with me this time. And then the door, I should have gotten a clue, but the door closest to where she was levitating started to glow. And that's one way the universe communicates to me. Things start to glow in a way that nobody else can see, but I can see and feel. And I asked the woman who was her son's nurse if I could go into his room and talk to him. Everybody on the floor knew at that time that I was an intuitive and a healer. And again, I felt very supported and appreciated, but I always wanted whoever their nurse was to know before I went in to treat a patient, just to ask for permission, even before I walked into the room and asked the patient for permission. She said, oh, sure, you can go on in there. So I walk in the room and this young man, probably in his late 30s, was laying in bed, and a woman about the same age was sitting next to him. I assumed it was his wife. And I asked him if his mother had crossed. I said, "Has your mother passed over?" And he said, "Yes." And then he introduced me to his sister, who was sitting right next to him. And I said, "Was she pushy?" And they both started laughing. I said, "Your mother's been yelling at me all morning to come in here and communicate something to you." And I asked if I could lay hands on him, and I did. And as soon as I put my hands on him, I could hear her tell me that it wasn't his time. He was very sick. He had a terminal illness, and he was afraid that he wasn't going to live past that current hospitalization. But his mother knew that he was going to live past that hospitalization, and she wanted him to know that he still had plenty of time left. So I gave, that translation to both of them. They're both crying, and we talked about their mom and how bossy and pushy she is, which I loved and appreciated that she kept working on me until I actually did my job and learned another skill. And from that day on, of course, I have rules with the other side. Please don't bother me when I'm not working. Like I have to have my downtime, and it really needs to be super serious. Like his situation to me, I would consider very serious. And I can see why his mother would want to, so heartily communicate with her children and let him know that she's not going to be hugging him so soon, a little bit later.
Well, a beautiful story, and really a great initiation into this work. And maybe you can share. So you're kind of only available for when you're on the clock and when it's serious, which I think is great to set boundaries like that. And so maybe give a sense for like how this ability, as we cultivate it, really can be so transformational in people's lives.
Yes, it still shocks me today because I do a medium reading in almost every energy session that I give. I'm still shocked today by how it transforms people, how people need to feel that connection with their loved ones. And in a way, how many people aren't really feeling their loved ones, which actually makes me sad because the other side is really here for us and really here to help us. People on the other side don't need our help. And so I love teaching people how to expand their multisensory abilities so that they can connect to their loved ones in other dimensions so that they can have a relationship. I don't think relationships end just because we're not living in the same dimension. I think they can grow beyond the dimension we're currently in and be very healing, especially since when a soul leaves Earth, they get a lot of information. They become so omnipresent. They have so much consciousness and awareness beyond anything that they remembered prior to the incarnation, that their love and connection with us here in the physical realm is phenomenal and super helpful and very healing for most people.
So let's talk a little bit about the how then. So how have you been able to sort of help people start open this channel themselves, and what are the preconditions for starting that process?
Great question. First of all, we have this beautiful third eye here in the center of our forehead. And so many people think that this is where intuition originates. And that if you want a strong intuitive ability, you have to be in your third eye. Or I often see people looking up into their head, trying to understand how their third eye works. I see it very differently than that. The third eye is like a projector. It projects images, auditory sensations, clairsentient feelings, all the multisensory abilities kind of come through the third eye to project to you so that you can hear them, see them, feel them, and understand them in some way. But intuition doesn't originate in the brain. It originates from the second layer of the auric field, the emotional response system, because our real emotions are also highly intuitive. They're not logical, and the mind actually cannot feel, from my perception. It's a logical tool, like making sure that we got on Zoom at the right time, or that I made sure that I have water in my room today, or that I have a light on my notes in case I need them so that I can see them clearly. But intuition doesn't come from the mind. The mind needs to be clear, it needs to be calm, it needs to be at peace. And real intuition and our real emotions are also those very same formula. They're always calm, they're always compassionate, and they're always a little bit surprising.
Great. So why is it that most people aren't able to open to natural intuition and be able to communicate this way?
Mostly because they have a very active mind that is overthinking, analyzing, and processing. So they could have a gorgeous, stunning third eye, but the projector's turned off. It's not working very well because they're analyzing things that happened years ago or things that they think might happen. They're not present and they're feeling things that don't even exist. Most of the feelings that we have or that people experience, I call them mind-made emotions. They're not authentic. They're created by the mind from overthinking a particular topic. Then we create emotions to support them, but they're not authentic. And then another interesting part about the third eye, the back portion here, for me, when I look at the chakras, they turn into cones. And the back portion, or the back portion of the third eye, is supposed to be flush with the occiput, the back of your head. People who are self-critical, they tend to extend the back of the third eye several feet behind them, even up to several hundred feet behind them. And when they do that, tiny little filters of self-criticism move into that long extended vortex. And that starts to dilute one's intuition and multisensory ability. So we have to be also kind to ourselves and very loving and compassionate to ourselves. Creation only sees us in a loving, kind, compassionate way. And when we start to treat ourselves that way, we raise our vibration, we reduce our self-criticism, and we allow ourselves to see insight, hear it, feel it, or experience it accurately.
So it sounds like it's like if you're naturally sort of letting your vibration raise, sort of taking away the hindrances, that it just becomes a natural part of what opens.
Yes. Being kind to yourself is like a huge upgrade in life, in every area of your life, including your intuitive abilities, will occur when you authentically have kindness and appreciation for your amazing, magnificent self.
Very cool. So what if you could walk us through maybe what you would train people on, some of the steps? We don't have to go into each one, but just a little bit of like the process to start to cultivate, and then what do you do once contact is made?
Great question. So learning to not listen to your mind is huge. Learning to control the mind a little bit. I like to think of the mind that we need to treat it like a dog. And I love dogs. I have a beautiful dog, Charles. He's amazing. Dogs need a lot of positive support. They need a lot of management. And most humans allow their minds to act like a cat, where they can just run around freely. Like if I were to open up my front doors and my cats and my dog ran outside, my cats would definitely not eat poison. They would find the right food. They would avoid cars. Cats rarely get hit by cars. They know how to come home. They know how to be outside on their own, most cats, if they're indoor or outdoor, where dogs tend to get lost. They can easily get hit by cars. They'll eat anything. So dogs need a lot of positive management, and so does our mind. It's more like a dog. It shouldn't have as much freedom as the human race gives their mind.
Very good. So why don't you share a little bit more about what happens once the bridge is built and you and start to get some communication with specific souls?
So once you start to recognize that fear and anxiety and worry and doubt come from the overthinking analytical process of your mind, and you start managing your beautiful brain and being kind to yourself and loving to yourself, then you will start to rest your energy in the lower half of your body. Most people rest in the third eye, they rest in their heart chakra. A lot of spiritualists aren't even interested in the lower functioning chakras, although they are the foundation to our entire energetic system. So once you quiet the mind and allow it to be in high frequency, because if you're not worrying about the future or the past, you're going to be in high vibration. You're going to start to be present. You're going to start to have fun in your life. You're going to enjoy things. And then if you're kind to yourself on top of it, then your vibration is really elevated. So then you'll start to rest perhaps in the belly or your feet, anywhere from the hips on down. And you will start to connect to that second layer of the auric field, which is where all the magic is. Then you're going to be able to observe and witness the beautiful information that's coming into your third eye. Then because you're in the second layer of your auric field, away from your mind, you will easily understand the translation. Translating intuition is extremely simple, but humans tend to make it very complicated because they use their brain to try to understand intuition, and the brain will never understand intuition. It's logical. So when people start to get that perception that their mind will not understand intuition ever, then they stop trying to figure out what the meaning is from a logical mind. They start feeling the information. They start witnessing the information. So for example, if a loved one wanted to communicate with someone and that person was able to get out of the brain and be kind and loving to themselves and hang out on that second layer of the auric field, which is actually very fun. When the impressions come to them, it's that these impressions are translated by how you feel. So for example, let's say that someone had an experience of swinging on a swing while they were communicating with their loved one. And so then the question would be, what does swinging on the swing mean to me? A lot of people are trying to understand what the departed loved one is saying, but the universe knows that you need to understand this information based on your own experiences. That's how you're going to understand what it means. So in the translation, let's say someone loves to swing on swings. I certainly do now that I have 5 grandkids. I'm always on a swing, it seems like, having great fun. That means that that person on the other side is translating to you that they're happy, they're having a good time, they're enjoying themselves immensely. So it's this beautiful art of learning to understand yourself, what things mean to you in your personal life, staying away from the overthinking analytical mind, which is healthy for us regardless of what we do on earth, so that we can accurately translate the information that's coming to us.
Now, do most people get more of the visual impressions like that, or is it sort of the full gamut of different senses that they can get information across?
It's definitely the full gamut. And interesting enough, even if someone has a really clear auditory sense, like they are really great at hearing the multisensory world, if they have a lot of resistance on the topic, like some people want to so badly talk to a loved one, but they miss them so much, they have a lot of resistance. The universe will try other modes. They may try a visualization. They may try a clear sentient ability. So when in reality, we all have all the clairs. We may use one predominantly more than the other, but the universe will try to get around our resistance whenever we are in resistance and show us a different way to experience the information.
Interesting. So is it good to try to like open the other channels as well to try to get some sense of smell or sense of just felt sense in order so you have kind of more channels open for different souls to communicate?
I think it's important to be open, that when we are multisensory, we're multisensory, that we're meant to have these experiences between worlds. It's normal. It's not unusual, although it still may feel that way a little bit in the human realm. It's actually normal for us to be multisensory. I had a recent experience where I was on the radio talking to a caller, and her husband had just passed away. They'd been on a family vacation with their children and their parents, and he had a massive heart attack and passed away. And she wanted to know what his experience was at the moment of him leaving his body. And he kept telling me that it was romantic. I didn't see anything at that moment, and I'm highly clairvoyant, but I kept hearing him saying, it was so romantic. It was so romantic. So I'm telling her this, and she doesn't know what I'm talking about. It doesn't make any sense to her. And then all of a sudden she remembers that when he was on the gurney and she was with him in the ambulance to take him to the hospital, and he was almost gone or, leaving his body at that moment, she was rubbing his feet the whole time. And she said that that was something that he thought was very romantic, was having his feet rubbed. So she completely forgot, but he remembered and wanted her to know that his passing was a romantic experience for him. It wasn't scary. It wasn't uncomfortable. He felt loved by her during that process.
What a great story. That gave me chills. I'm wondering if you could share a little bit more about what you've learned about that process of transition for souls, and how they gaining access to more information and that sort of thing as they transition from a body.
Thank you so much, Steve. That's one of my favorite questions of all time. I think that's why I've loved being at the bedside of so many people crossing over, because it feels phenomenal. What I've heard from souls as they're leaving Earth, and sometimes when you're leaving Earth, it can be a little bit slow depending on your dying process. And when the being is leaving, to also match up with the rest of their soul, because we don't bring all of our energy to Earth. We would go crazy if we did. That's why we always talk about the higher self when we do everything we can to connect to the higher self so we can bring information in. So as the parts of our soul that are leaving the human realm, there's an immediate ascension of energy, because Earth is a low vibrational reality. And as you're leaving Earth, your energy starts to ascend, the vibration increases, and you start to gain massive knowledge. knowledge about your life on earth, the people you've loved, the problems, the issues, the things that you thought were terrible. You get this whole new perspective. You get to see everyone's past lives. You get to see future lifetimes. It's so amazing. So people, as they're crossing over, which, could happen in seconds, it could happen in weeks, it could happen during several months. People travel at different times based on their perception and how close they want to stay to Earth, for how long they want to stay close to Earth. But as they're doing this, think of it kind of like this energy of a rocket moving off into multiple dimensions and cosmos. They are being enlightened with knowledge that frees them from previous experiences and helps them to understand why other people behave the way they did, even strangers, even just understanding the human race and what everything's happening on Earth and why it's happening. It's a very profound experience for the souls that are leaving their bodies.
Interesting. And how do they, on the other side, learn to start to communicate with us?
They don't have to learn a thing. They just naturally know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have their logical mind. When we cross over, we don't take our brain with us. You only need a brain in the logical world because we have so many logical things we have to do. But when you're outside of a body where you don't eat or work or even need shelter, you don't need logic to help you move about the realities. You just need to have a higher awareness of your energy because there's so much to explore from the energetic perspective.
Well, you've laid some really great foundations of understanding here. So I think now would be a great time to dive into the experiential with third eye you wanted to guide us in.
Yeah. So I want to do this exercise so that we can get the third eye to be working as a translator. I think it's important to look at the third eye as that, not where intuition originates from, but this incredible tool in your brain that will show you images or allow you to hear another person's voice or important information, or feel all the way down to your toes, or even smell. Yesterday I was teaching a class and I could see a person's departed loved one next to them, and I smelled vanilla so strongly. And I said that to the person who was in human form about their loved one, and they said, "Oh yeah, this person, it was her grandmother, loved vanilla and had vanilla scented candles all over her house all the time." So we have all these senses that our third eye can express to us. So why don't we go ahead and close our human eyes? It's nice to shut out the third dimensional space as you're increasing your multisensory abilities. And as we keep our eyes closed, let's at the same time rotate our eyeballs upward as if we're trying to look into our eyebrows, and keep the eyeballs elevated while we take some beautiful breaths into the belly. One more breath, and then you can relax your eyeballs, but keep your eyes closed. And at the same time, allow yourself to experience a waterfall, any way you wish to experience it, moving from your head all the way down to your toes. Keep taking beautiful breaths. You might hear the waterfall. You might feel water around your body. You might see a waterfall. Even if you feel like you're making up the sounds or the images of a waterfall, that's fantastic. And now wiggle your toes for about 10 seconds, bringing more energy away from the beautiful brain, allowing the third eye to have the freedom that it desires, to not overthink or analyze. And now imagine your hands, whether they're on your lap or your tummy or right next to you where you're sitting, imagine that they're sinking into whatever they're touching. So allow yourself to experience your hands. Perhaps they're sinking into your legs or your abdomen or the chair where you're sitting. And again, you may hear this experience. You may feel it. You may see it. You may simply know that it's happening. You are multisensory. You can have all the multisensory experiences you desire. Now bring your awareness back to your forehead, to the third eye, and allow yourself to experience a small version of yourself standing in the center of your head. It's literally hanging out in that sixth chakra. You might feel a small part of yourself there. You may see a small version of yourself there. You might feel an awareness of yourself there. You might hear a little bit of your voice in your head. And you're just going to allow yourself to have this experience of you standing in your brain, in the forehead area, right connected within the third eye. And while this small version of yourself is in your forehead, I'd love for you to imagine, feel, experience that the third eye, your sixth chakra, is now moving. It's moving around, it's rotating, and that smaller version of yourself is just standing still. You might hear the movement of the third eye. You might feel a movement in your head or some wind around your body. You may have a visualization of this chakra, third eye, rotating, but the image of yourself is standing still. Even if you feel like you're making this up or you feel like this is not happening, just allow yourself to be in this experience. We're helping you to disconnect from your thoughts and have a completely different experience with your brain, which allows freedom of the third eye. It also will shrink the back portion of your third eye if it's been extending outside of your head. Or reduce your self-criticism for a few moments. Just allow this to happen. And it will also extend the front portion of your third eye where all the translation occurs. And now just repeat silently, if you'd like to, I am magnificent. I am magnificent. I am magnificent. We are creating a change with your third eye to help it to be more expansive and just a little bit more of that language. I am magnificent. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. When I do that exercise, or I teach it, people can feel bright light turn very strongly on in their brain. And they also feel their brain get quiet. The brain just needs, again, some sort of management, something that's very different than analyzing and processing.
Great. And then what do you recommend you do with whatever comes during that meditation?
That's a really good question. You could actually hear or see or feel something that's very important for you. And that could very well happen. And if it does, you just want to ask yourself, well, what does that really mean to me? Like if you saw orange, what does the color orange mean to you? What does the color yellow mean to you? What does the color red? But most of all, when you do this exercise, it's to help us to disconnect with the brain, to allow the third eye to be in its perfection, and to help you connect to your authentic emotional body. It's a way that builds the energy positively for the third eye.
And then how would, as that starts to settle in and open up, like how then do you make a specific sort of bridge with spirit on the other side?
Great question. So beings who come to communicate with loved ones only come for typically one reason, and that is to be of help. So the beings on the other side actually don't need our help or assistance at all. But humanity does need help. Humanity overall, we're working really hard to raise our consciousness, and when our loved ones cross over, they're in a much higher conscious vibrational place, and they're so excited to help humanity to bridge that gap, to be able to feel their loved ones, hear them, see them, connect with them, realize that no one's gone, that everyone's happy, everyone's fulfilled. So when you're in that vibration, after you've done this exercise, all of a sudden you might remember a loved one, maybe not even one that you're thinking about in that moment, because it's not always the ones we miss the most that show up. Certainly they can, but sometimes it's the people that are a little bit on the fringe of our experience who show up, who, because of their disconnection, can have a bigger picture of the entire family and provide insight and valuable information to us. So I would be open. Once you've got your third eye relaxed, you're not thinking or analyzing, I would be very open for magic to occur, and try not to talk yourself out of it. It's so funny. The beings on the other side will send messages to us, and they're so excited, and we heard the message or we saw the message, we felt it. And within a few minutes, the human will go, well, that wasn't real. That really didn't mean anything. I'm sure that's not Uncle Harry, and the beings are very, patient on the other side. But I say to them going, okay, well, I did everything. And now they say I wasn't there. So trust the experiences that you have. Go sit someplace quiet. Speak out loud with your voice when you're communicating initially with a departed one, so that you don't go back into your brain and start activating that overthinking mind. When we overthink, we tend to go into the ego, and the ego is very fearful. And when we engage in fear, then we shut ourselves down even further. And all the beings who live outside of Earth don't hang out in fearful energy. So we become disconnected from them when we go back to thinking and analyzing and processing. So stay out of your head, trust these experiences, and speak out loud with your mouth, because it takes a while to quiet the brain, and beings on the other side don't need to, kind of sift through all of your thoughts and your processes. But if you speak, beautifully with your mouth, they will know exactly what you are communicating with them.
Do you find that it's most valuable to just see who arises once you're in the right third eye state versus calling in somebody specific?
So fun. Yes. That's one of my favorite parts. In my work, I don't even know why a client is having a session with me. I'm much better going in cold, intuitive. And I'll be, in my home, washing, dishes or folding laundry, and a departed loved one starts following me around the house and trying to help me. Actually, they help fold laundry, and I'm like, oh, and I can see them perfectly because I'm very clairvoyant. And then when I go to have the meeting with the client, then I see that person. I go, oh, your dad's been following me around the house all day long, helping me, fold laundry. So yes, absolutely. We don't want to get caught up, because then we get scared, we get sad, we miss that person. We can stay in the high vibration and allow whoever is meant to come through. Most people are surprised. I was recently doing a reading, and I do have this person's permission, or I wouldn't say a few little things that I am. But this person had left a long-term marriage where the person who's alive was a step parent, and now that her spouse was gone, the stepkids were kind of mad at her based on things that happened after the death. But interesting enough, who came to talk to her was the first wife, the mother of the children, who's also on the other side. And they were actually friends before she passed. And she came to tell her she did a great job. She was so thankful that she helped parent her children, and that she should just ignore their fussiness right now, and that she was beyond grateful for everything she did for them. And she said that was the answer she needed most. She was hoping to speak to her departed husband. I don't remember if he came in the conversation or not, quite frankly, but it was the first wife that brought tears to her eyes and made her feel better and gave her peace. So always the perfect person comes, always.
I love when you tell stories from specific things from practice. Are there other stories that could be illuminating for how to, approach this process and deepen the process?
Yes. And I think what's also important to remember is that intuition is surprising, because it's the opposite of what your mind tells you. So always be prepared to be surprised. In fact, I always feel confident when I'm getting multisensory information for myself or for others, when we're all surprised. That's what makes it so incredibly fun. And the universe loves to surprise us too. The universe loves to, and I don't mean in a scary, weird way, in a happy, delightful, like, oh, because our logical mind can't think of the solutions that the multisensory world can bring to us and our multisensory abilities can hatch for us. So always be prepared to be surprised. That's also a sign of being in alignment and connected to your full self and your higher self in a surprise.
Great. Any other stories that you want to share that are particularly illuminating like that?
Well, I have one. I have one myself. My cousin passed away a few years ago. I didn't even know she was ill. We were kind of estranged, actually. And we had, I wasn't mad at her, but she was mad at me because she had shared with me that there was a problem in her and her husband's marriage. And she said it had something to do with something. He wasn't, let's say he was having a lot of fun in life with other people as well. And so when I went to go visit them, I said, I kind of want to stay in a hotel. I kind of don't want to be in all of you guys' funniness when I visit. And she got mad at me. And then she got sick and she passed away. So I'm in my bathroom. When you're around water, beings from the other side come the most. You could be in a toilet closet. You could be in your shower. You could be standing next to a lake or a pond. And that's because we're mostly water. We're 70% water. The earth is mostly water. And water molecules are very emotional. And our intuition lies in our emotional energy. So I just get out of the shower and I see my cousin standing in my bathroom. And I hadn't seen her in a long time. And she looked gorgeous. And she reminded me of something. And she laughs every time I tell this story because I'm a little embarrassed to tell this story, honestly. But she goes, you shouldn't have been so mad at him. She goes, remember, I was having fun too. And I totally forgot that years prior, she had been having fun too on her own with other people. And I completely forgot about it. And so here I am laughing in my bathroom. She's teaching me something from the other side, not to judge, right? Not to critique people's decisions or their choices, not to think that one person is better than another because of anything they do. So here she is teaching me from the other side. And I am forever grateful for her honesty and her love and how incredibly right she is.
That's a great story and definitely good messages as well. So yeah, so I want to circle back to different things you can do to lift your vibration up or address different areas there might be blocks or barriers to opening up to communicate in this way.
So I don't really think of blocks or barriers. I think those words, I think we use those words a lot, and of course they logically make sense. But I really like to think of it as, are we expanding or not? Because everything is about the expansion. Everything's about vibration and frequency. And so being authentically happy gets you to flow your energy at that expansive rate. And everyone on the other side is already happy. Like they're having fun. People who pass over rarely, if ever, really miss us because they can see us whenever they want to. They know what we're thinking. They know what's happening in our lives. They can hang out with us. They could hug us when they want to. It's not the same because we're not in a body. So it's not the exact same feeling, but they're in a very high vibration. So in order for us to communicate, we need to be close in frequency and vibration. So the more we can stay authentically happy, which is good for the human race, because that means when you're happy, you're not overthinking, analyzing, and processing. And there are plenty of things all around us all day long that could lift our spirits, that could expand our energy, that could help our vibration to be at a higher frequency. So finding those things, being determined to notice when your energy is low and not be hard on yourself, go, oh, honey, or handsome, our energy is low right now. What can we do in this moment to shift our vibration and allow our frequency to be closer to the heavens so that we can be in union and connection with this incredible bond between worlds?
Very cool. Love it. There was one other area that we said we would cover today. I don't think we've really gotten into it, is about the energetic reader board. Can you share a little bit more about what that is?
So after that first story where I was in the hospital and the gentleman who I'm assuming passed away, but he was in the hospital bed, he had pancreatic cancer, which has, it still has a high mortality rate. So he knew that he was going to be leaving the earth at some point. And so after I had that conversation with his mother and shared it with him, I just thought, how does the universe do this? Like, how do they know how to talk to me? How do they know what to say to me? I was just curious about the whole situation. And my spirit guides told me one day that there's a reader board next to every human being. And they showed me a sandwich reader board. They told me it doesn't look like that. It looks like a hologram, but I love the earth so much. They always show me things that resemble something on earth. And on the reader board are instructions about how that medium works. So, for example, I don't really remember human names. People to me do not look like their names, they look like energy. So, I don't care about names. So, if a soul's on the other side, they shouldn't waste time trying to tell me their name because it's not something I have an interest in. So it says on my reader board, don't bother sharing your name with Marie. She doesn't care. It does say that for whatever reason, I love hair and I see hair first and foremost, or no hair, that I'm very visual. I'll be able to see what someone's wearing. I'll be able to understand their personality, that I have this knowingness. So all of us have strengths and weaknesses in our ability to be multisensory. And the reader board is there so that every soul who comes up to communicate to our medium selves will know exactly how to do it, what to avoid, what to focus on. It's all on the reader board.
That's really cool. I've never even heard of that before, but it makes total sense that we all come with a little bit of an operating manual. Is there a way to access what's on our reader board, or we just extrapolate from what we know about ourselves?
Yeah, I actually take people through meditations to discover what's on their reader board. Yeah, it isn't necessary, but it is fun to know. I mean, I'm sure there's other things on my reader board that I'm unaware of, but that one fact, because at the time that I started to do mediumship, which was about 2 years into me doing energy work, I wanted to be able to pass on the name. Like I worked really hard at it until I saw the reader board. I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. I really don't care about people's names. I don't find it interesting at all. So I think it's helpful in that way so that you don't try to do something that's not necessary. You have other strengths and other abilities in your translation that will touch someone very deeply because it works within your being at a higher level than perhaps others. So I think it's important to have some awareness of what could be on that reader board, so you don't waste precious time trying to do something that you actually have better skills at doing other things.
Mm-hmm. I like that there's a lot of variation of what each medium has, their different flavors and different areas of focus, and so you gotta play to your strengths and not try to go into areas that just aren't going to add value.
Exactly.
Well, this is really cool. It's really great to talk to you, Marie, and you're super empowering, and I just love your perspective. So let's talk a little bit about your upcoming programs, since I know you're really eager to impart like a deep understanding of how you can open this skill for yourself, for everybody who's watching. So Marie has agreed to teach a program called Multisensory Mediumship. Confidently communicate with loved ones and guides from the other side to heal and enhance your life. You can find it at the URL multisensorymediumship.com. There's no dash in there, multisensorymediumship.com. It's a 7-week program and really lays fundamental building blocks for you to do this in your own unique way, so that you're capitalizing on your own particular predilections as a soul and your own unique gifts, and being able to open up to these channels of communication in your own life. So Maria, I'd love for you to share in your own words about really what you're excited to bring forward in this program. And then I will read out the module titles so you give us a preview of what's coming in each.
Sure. Thank you. I'm really excited to help people connect through the multisensory world. I really believe everyone's a medium. I think someday we won't even need mediums. That means I'll be out of a job at some point. But probably that won't fully happen in my lifetime. But I'm just so excited to empower people, to help them recognize how gifted and talented they are. And once you start to bridge the world, through your multisensory ability, you start to see yourself differently. You gain confidence, you feel better about yourself. You get to hear and see and feel things that are important for you, just like how my cousin passed another important message that I need to pay attention to help me expand my own awareness. I think it empowers people to be more of their authentic self. And I'm delighted always to provide any type of assistance that I can to help anyone reach that goal. I really believe that everyone is powerful beyond anything they possibly could imagine. And I hope to help them to get to that place that excites them and turns them on and makes them have a fulfilled life and heals any pain they have from, in this case, loss of people who are near and dear to them.
Module 1 is called Awaken Your Multisensory Potential.
Yeah. So in this module, we're going to also talk about the third dimension, the fourth dimension, and the fifth dimension. So the fifth dimension is the heaven for our world. And of course, third is where we all live. And then the fourth dimension is the astral plane. And the astral plane is huge. It's bigger than Earth. It's a place of travel. We can access our past lives from this dimension. And so mediums either sit in the astral plane, or they sit very close to the fifth dimension, the heavens, or a medium sits in the third dimension, and the people who have crossed over kind of bring the fifth dimension right next to them. So I think the reason why we're called mediums is because we're really in the middle. We're in the middle of this diverse, engaging, multidimensional world, and it's kind of fun to figure out where you may be in your comfort. And sometimes it can even be depending on who you're communicating with, that could depend on, are you still sitting in the third dimensional space? Are you hanging out on the astral plane? Are you like pretty much kind of in the heavens hanging out with everyone else? So that will be super fun.
Module 2, empower authentic connections by respecting the other side's autonomy.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting topic, because even when souls are leaving, even if their body is having some discomfort, that means like they're moaning or something of that nature, it doesn't mean they're actually having pain. The other side is very loving and compassionate and will do everything it can to even reduce physical discomfort. And so we're going to talk about how we need to respect even the decision of a soul to leave their body, because nobody leaves their body until it's their time, until they make a decision. They have free will and they can live and reside in any dimension they desire. So I think when we have those kind of perceptions, it makes it easier for us to raise our vibration and to connect to the loved ones in different parts of the universes.
Module 3, unlock your innate ability to communicate between realms to bolster your mediumship abilities.
Yeah, so we're going to talk a lot about navigating fear and anxiety and worry and doubt, so that you can unlock the secrets that already exist inside of you. People have cardinal knowledge inside them. They actually know how to connect. They know how to access their own intuition. So we're going to work on all the different ways that we can come up with a multisensory perception versus a fearful perception, so that you can expand your energy exponentially. We're going to use meditation strategies. We're going to talk about past life memories and experiences. It's going to be very fun.
Module 4, unleash the true potential of your mind to unlock emotional and spiritual channels of perception.
So one of the great things about learning to be out of your head is that it will work 10 times better. Your brain will be amazing. It will be extremely helpful for you. It will get you to where you need to be, because you'll be quiet, and the anxiety, fearful aspect, which has just become normal for humanity. It will also reduce your cortisol levels, activate your immune system, help you sleep better at night. It will do all these amazing things for you. But most importantly, when you do that, then you have access to your intuition. It's so much easier to feel, see, and sense your multisensory connection to all that exists when you are allowing, that frequency to live inside of you, and let your brain be the powerful logical tool that was meant to be while we journey here on Earth.
Module 5, learn how to bridge vibrational realms to connect with departed loved ones.
I think part of it too, when you're raising vibration, as we said before, you have to be happy. I've seen so many people who tell me, I can't see my loved one, I can't talk to them, I can't hear them, I can't feel them, I don't have dreams about them. And I will ask them, before you have an experience, whether they've learned a tool or not from someone, I go, are you happy? And they say, no, of course not, I'm not happy. So one of the first things you have to do is not think about that loved one. If it's going to lower your vibration and make you sad, you're not going to have your energy up. So you have to think about something unrelated before you engage in your multisensory abilities to connect and communicate with your loved ones. And I know that's a little tricky, but you absolutely can. It's kind of a multitask where you think about something else that authentically makes you joyful. And then we begin the process of connecting with our loved ones.
Module 6, embrace transform connections to understand your loved one's expanded perspective.
Many times when I've been translating for someone, because I feel I'm a translator, that's my job. I listen to the people who are on the other side and I translate the information that they give me, however they give it to me. That's my job. And sometimes people don't right away recognize their loved one because they've changed a little bit. They're not worried about the things that they were worried about. So example would be that story where that gentleman was saying that his passing was very romantic because his partner and they were soulmates. They had been madly in love with each other their whole lifetime. He said it was romantic. That didn't make sense to her. So what we have to recognize is the being on the other side is having a different experience. They understand things in a way that they never have before. And you might have to just sit back a little bit because someone who's never told you that they love you might come across and kiss you all over your face and tell you how incredible you are and that they're madly in love with you. And your job is not to turn off or think that's impossible, but to be curious and open that people, beings change when they leave Earth. They're not exactly the same.
That's a wonderful message. Module 7, tap into your innate magnificence to transcend grief.
The real vibration of grief is delicious. And I think, we have all these human ideas about what things mean. And that's why we have to stop thinking so we can actually perceive things accurately. But real grief is delicious. It's very transformative. It can get people to expand exponentially their own subatomic particles and have completely different experiences. So learning to, let's say if you've lost someone and you're having grief, like being in the grief for a little while, but then getting out of it and raising your vibration and then going back into the grief and then raising your vibration again, if you can. That is profound, so that when you enter into the grief again, you have more of an intuitive perspective of what's really happening, not just the human experience of what's happening, which is extremely limiting.
Well, there's so much wisdom and really practical insights in this program. So it's going to be really fantastic. So again, the whole thing is laid out in detail at multisensorymediumship.com. And so in addition to the 7 90-minute live sessions, which you're going to be able to chance to ask your questions directly to Marie, you also have time to interact with each other. There'll be breakout groups. There's recordings of every session, both video and audio. There'll have word-for-word transcripts to work with, study, and highlight, as well as weekly exercises and practices for inquiry at home, plus Facebook community to really create an international community around this work. On the page, you'll also see a number of extra bonuses to enhance your journey as well. There's a self-hypnosis meditation on mediumship. It's an audio meditation that Marie's created. And there's a video teaching called It's All About Vibration. Marie, you want to share a little bit more about It's All About Vibration?
Thank you, Stephen. It really is all about vibration. And so I spent time really explaining what that means, because vibration means something different than frequency. Vibration is like low vibration is sad, high vibration is ecstatic. And to be able to hold the vibration is what creates a frequency. So some people maintain their vibration low, unhappy or frustrated or annoyed, and they're kind of creating like a permanent or very consistent frequency in that energy. And it's hard for them to get out of it so that they can be in a vibration closer to the other side so they can translate and communicate. So we're going to talk a lot about, or I did talk a lot about, about holding the high vibration longer so you can create a frequency long enough so that you can take in information and understand it.
Really great stuff. And that's just one extra bonus in this program. And in addition, there's one special bonus you get when you sign up by midnight tonight. And I particularly think this is going to be a great one because a prominent teacher of mediumship has her own kind of very unique journey with it. It's called What Souls Experience Right After Death. So really going deeper into that whole transitional realm and understanding what souls go through as a way to demystify it, help us understand what awaits us, and also why the souls are able to access another layer of information about us and the world. So Marie, you want to share a little bit about that dialogue with you and Suzanne that folks get when they sign up today?
Yeah, well, we love each other. So it's always fun for us to be able to work together and spend time together. And Suzanne it's amazing to be with another medium and have conversations. And it was really fun because I kind of feel like she helped me more, but she gave me some insight even on, some of the experiences that I've had. I think you're going to love it. One of the stories that Suzanne shared is one of my favorites. I haven't stopped thinking about it. About this interesting connection, this being told her, which someone had passed over, and they kept coming into the cat that was in the house to cuddle up to their loved ones. And that was just touched my heart very, very, very deeply and helped me understand something that I don't think I was totally getting, because people on this side don't tell me they miss cuddling. But occasionally I've had mostly gentlemen talk about my family that's extremely close. And we're very cuddly with each other. We tell each other we love each other every single day. And none of my family lives with me. My children are all grown and married and have their own kids. And it taught me something very cool about how they really do miss that aspect of us. Yeah, it was, I think you will love it. It was a lot of fun. We had a great time hanging out together.
That's super sweet that there's still a love of cuddling. So really great. So I know that's going to be super eye-opening and very touching for get that extra bonus as well, which is called What Souls Experience Right After Death. So we've kept the investment for this program very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128, or you save 10% when you pay in full up front with 1 payment of $349. The course is going to start on November 7th, run Tuesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. So I also encourage you to go and check out more testimonials about Marie. She's taught a number of programs for Shift, always gets rave reviews, super, super high vibe, really uplifting, really helps you love yourself and love your skills and take on new capacities in a way that's very joyful and fun. So you're going to be in for a treat and in great hands if you choose to move forward. And again, all the details are at multisensorymediumship.com, multisensorymediumship.com, and you get that special bonus with Marie and Suzanne Giesman when you sign up by midnight tonight. So Marie, it's always great to be with you. Any final thoughts for folks who are considering going deeper in this journey with you?
Well, thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure spending time with you as well. Just that I know so many people want to have these experiences and they deserve to have multisensory abilities or to understand them and use them in their life. And I look forward to being able to provide knowledge and exercises so that one or many can have those experiences. I just feel very grateful that I get to help people in that way. It brings me great joy, raises my vibration to see all the light bulb moments. And when I'm looking out at class and see people have lovely, happy tears in their eyes and know that someone they care about is standing right next to them, kissing them on the cheek and thanking them for a lifetime together or just a moment together that was precious for them. I'm deeply looking forward to that experience and can't wait until we all come together.
Those moments make it all worthwhile. It's really the way we all do this work. So thank you for being a pioneer in this arena and being so empowering and uplifting to all who are curious to explore further. So again, all the details for Marie's upcoming program on multisensory mediumship, you can find at multisensorymediumship.com, and you get the special bonus if you sign up by midnight tonight with Marie and Suzanne Giesman. So thank you so much, Marie, and thank you all for joining. Many blessings.